If you've ever been caught in a moment of panic, you'll understand that it can sometimes feel like you're carrying the entire world's burden on your shoulders. You might even start to believe that there's no escape. Everything would seem dark, and your heart pounds like a relentless drum against the walls of your chest. But hold on a moment. Imagine there's a mighty force, so great and full of love that it reaches out with an invisible hand to steady your shaking knees and calm your racing heart. This force, this anchor, is God. For countless people around the world, faith in God has been the life raft that keeps them afloat in the stormy seas of life. None of your life's problems are bigger than God. You must therefore make sure that you do not fear whatever the devil or life may throw at you. Why? Because in the face of every mountain, you have a God with you who is so big that he calls the earth his footstool. This message is coming to someone who needs it today, and I hope you are that person. This is a message from God to someone going through a season of life where he or she has or is about to throw in the towel because it seems the situation is beyond anyone's control, even God. You have prayed and prayed, fasted and fasted, but it seems the situation is refusing to budge, like the mountain is refusing to move. This is God telling you, no matter what you face, do not fear. I am with you. I am bigger than your problems. The book of Isaiah chapter 41 verse 10 says, "So do not fear, for I am with you. Do not be dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you and help you. I will uphold you with my righteous right hand." If you are a believer, then I have good news for you. Unless it's over, it's not over with God. Yes, the situation is taking too long to go. Yes, the need is taking too long to end. The court case is looking impossible every day. Listen, until it's over, do not give up on God yet. He is bigger, greater, and wiser than your opposition. Picture this. You're standing at the base of a massive mountain, feeling so tiny and helpless. But then you imagine that mountain as your problem, and suddenly, behind that mountain, an even greater mountain emerges. So enormous that it makes your problem look like a little hill. That gigantic mountain is God's power and love for you. He's that big and even bigger. Now that little hill doesn't seem so scary, does it? All those worries and fears that have been weighing you down suddenly seem lighter because you have the mightiest ally on your side. So, if you feel like giving up, if your heart is heavy and your mind is filled with worry, take a deep breath and look beyond your problems. Know that God is there, ready to lift you up and give you the strength you need to keep going. What is your biggest fear in this world? What is that challenge in your life right now which robs you of your peace at the slightest thought? I admit that fears are real. It is our first response to anything frightening or threatening our safety or well-being. This is the absolute truth. Every person born of a woman on earth experiences fear one way or another. You see, fear can be so effective that it has the power to influence how a person or group thinks and how they act. It might surprise you that someone can appear confident and powerful on the outside, but be filled with fear on the inside. Beyond all the boasting and bullying and even taking advantage of others, there may be underlying fears that drive this behavior. These fears might include the fear of failing, ending up as failure, being called the weak link, not being good enough, being alone, or going through life unnoticed, among others. Fear cripples. It paralyzes its host. It blinds our reasoning. It is a very unpleasant, yet powerful emotion caused by anticipation or the awareness of danger or misfortune. When a person is under the influence of fear, whether the object of their fear is real or not is not their concern. All they want to do is escape at that moment, no matter the cost. Sadly, fear, no matter whom it operates on, is not of God. Fear does not come from God, and if it does not come from God, then we must know where it comes from. The enemy of our souls. The devil uses fear as a tool for enslaving and limiting whomever he can. But the child of God must know that whenever you feel fear taking over you, Satan is injecting you with his venom, and you must rise up and shake it off. Why? The answer is in the book of 2 Timothy chapter 1 verse 7, and it says, "For what the Spirit of God gave us does not make us timid, but gives us power, love, and self-discipline." Another translation says, "For God has not given us a spirit of fear, but of power and of love and of sound mind." This is why you must not give room to fear, because it does not come from God and it does not belong to you. The Christian is not the dwelling place of fear. As you can see from the above scripture, that fear is a spirit, one that is definitely not from God. You, the believer, is the temple of God's Spirit, a spirit of love, power, and a sound mind. The Spirit within you is the Spirit of God, and He is above everything making you afraid. The Spirit within you is bigger than the fears that have plagued you for so long, depriving you of your peace, joy, and progress. Fear is not something that should reside within you, but how do you overcome it? The answer is simple yet powerful. Lean on your faith. Your faith in God is like a shield, that warm hug when you are cold, that gentle whisper when you're lost. Whenever you feel fear creeping in, imagine yourself wrapping in a cloak made of faith. Picture God's hands holding yours, steadying your heart, and giving you the courage to face anything that comes your way. Speak to Him. Share your worries and fears. By doing this, you'll find that the mountain of fear begins to crumble, and in its place grows a tower of strength and love. But remember, it's not just about talking to God, it's also about listening. Open your heart and listen for His guidance. Surround yourself with positive influences and scriptures that affirm God's protection and love. In this cocoon of faith, love, and positivity, fear has no place. You become the warrior with the armor of faith and the sword of love and the shield of a sound mind. You will walk through storms, but instead of being drowned, you'll be walking on the waves. God has got you, and through Him, you are invincible. Let this be your mantra as you face each day. God is with me, His love surrounds me, and through Him, I am fearless. The book of 1 John chapter 4 verse 4 says, "You dear children are from God and have overcome them, because the one who is in you is greater than the one who is in the world." This is you right here. The Bible is not talking about anyone else but the child of God. If you are God's child, then this is for you. You house the Almighty within your spirit, and He is greater no matter what you face. If this is true, then why are you afraid because of one report, news, or current situation in your life? rather than feed your fear, thereby causing it to keep growing, why not turn around and face your God, who's bigger, and invite him into your situation? Whatever you bring closer to your view becomes more prominent, but if you push it further and further away, it soon becomes smaller and smaller until you don't see it again. God wants you to become more conscious of his presence and the greatness of his ability than you are of your problems. Imagine you're in a movie theater. The movie playing is your life's challenges. On the big screen, they seem so big, so overwhelming. But remember, you control the remote. You can hit the pause button, rewind, or even stop the movie. Now, think about God as another movie. This time, it's the movie of his love, power, and faithfulness. You have the power to switch from the first movie to the second one. You can choose to focus on God's greatness rather than the size of your problems. This switch in focus is your secret power, a power given to you by God himself. It's like using a magnifying glass. Whatever you bring closer to the lens appears larger. Again, if you bring your problems closer, they seem gigantic. But if you bring God's love and power closer, they dwarf your problems, making them seem insignificant. God doesn't want you to live your life in the shadow of your fears and challenges. He wants you to live in the light of his love, under the canopy of his protection, and within the boundaries of his peace. Enemy soldiers once surrounded the home of Prophet Elisha. However, the man of God himself was not fazed by it. On the other hand, his servant was paralyzed with fear and cried out to his master. Here's what Elisha replied to him in 2 Kings chapter 6, verses 16 through 17. "Don't be afraid," the prophet answered. "Those who are with us are more than those who are with them." And Elisha prayed, "Open his eyes, Lord, so that he may see." Then the Lord opened the servant's eyes, and he looked and saw the hills full of horses and chariots of fire all around Elisha. This is the perfect example of the words of the psalmist in Psalms chapter 34, verse 7. "The angel of the Lord encamps around those who fear him and delivers them." If you are a child of God, living according to the will of God in his word, dear people of God, the ones with you are greater. He has vowed to give his angels charge over you to keep you from destruction. Yes, problems will arise, but you must never fear. Why? Because you have the greater one with you. Yes, weeping may carry for the night, but you must not fear. Why? Because whatever has a beginning has an end, and the joy must come in the morning. Who would you rather trust to take care of your problem than the one who is greater than the mountains? Just like Elisha's servant, whose eyes were open to see the heavenly army, may your spiritual eyes be opened to the limitless love and support that God has placed at your disposal. In moments when you feel surrounded, pray. Pray for your eyes to see what Elisha's servant saw. The armies of heaven are ready to defend and uphold you. Choose faith over fear. Let your heart be wrapped in the certainty that, though challenges may come, they are but shadows before the glorious dawn that God has ordained for you. Stand unshaken, dear believer, for in this divine companionship you are invincible, and with God your triumphs are limitless.